When?
Yeah, like it's different with what it's looking around. So we can get some below now.
I'm an out-of-towner, remember? Okay.
Вот, короче.
So it might be a little while.
We also have a single I would say
Well,
it's better than the email because like you get final dates. No, I know. Yeah, you can
Yeah, like there's nothing more like
It felt protected in there. It was so wonderful. So wonderful. Was it? I like your sticker. Hi.
So, hi everyone, welcome. I don't know if some of you were...
Give us a minute. We'll move our stuff so we can hear you.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's
Today, we went in very confident, understanding, we understand who we are and what the right thing to do is. All of a sudden I have no voice. Excuse me. We had some very good help along the way, and I think that it's very important that I make clear that this is still an ongoing battle that we're having, something that should have been settled a long time ago. And the things that we're going through, like these appeals, are something that don't need to happen, and that within reconciliation, this really should be something that's taken on a different spirit and a different way of conducting ourselves. instead of being in a battle. It should be that our peoples are able to have a great dialogue. And I think today it made it very, very clear that this isn't what is happening within this system. So we're navigating ourselves very, very carefully in order to have the search go on for any peoples that are on Deganundak. And as we go on, the Gotnistansara and the people that support us are only getting more and more traction. As for the findings that have happened in November and in May and the tests that have gone on, we've had more findings, and there was even a probing technique done on Deganundak, and it showed that there are human evidence in the ground. And that's something that was important to bring up today, to make an understanding of that we're not just talking about technicalities all of the time, that we're actually talking about people who are living, people who have passed, and the people that are following them in our new generations, and that we have to change the way that those children or those people got in the ground, and we can't continue that same cycle. That now that we're new generations, we have the same system. Something has to change, and that's what we're here for. We're here to create that harmony that we had before a colonial system came in. So it's really important here to show that I believe that the judges had not just a feeling, but a more of an understanding of this dialogue that needs to happen with reconciliation. I mean, there's so much work that was done on behalf of the special interlocutor to open eyes and open a new door for new ways to happen within this system, where Indigenous people are not given such a hard time when it comes to missing children and missing peoples. This is something that I'm very, very happy to be a part of. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate situation, but I'm happy that I'm with all of these people here that have the greater understanding, and we can have all this resources to fight this. So I feel like I'm losing my voice, but I'm very happy that everybody showed up today, because I swear I felt you in there. There was a part of me that wanted to get emotional, but I was like, no, this is just the truth. The truth is what matters. So,
and the important thing is that we are all right now thinking about our children that we lost, so many, and most of them, our population was taken down and destroyed, and we're the survivors, and we have the duty of trying to find out what happened, how it happened, what will happen to the people who did it to us, and what is the future for us here. And so when we run into some problems and we haven't got the answer and we're trying to bring things together, we always resort to the Gayamiret Goa, which is the great peace. And whatever happens, the answer is there. We study it, we've grown up with it, and it's all based on the Kasasnosara Goa za Oyera, which is the great natural power. That's where we get our energy, that's where we get our ideas. That's what comes to us when we need to find an answer. And I want to give credit to the Kasasnosara Goa za Oyera, because when we're in a very tight situation, we're in a situation that we're not familiar with, which is the courts. Of course, we're getting more familiar with it now. We've learned so much in the last year. But what we've learned also is how much we need people to stand with us, to learn, to to know about us, to know the history of what happened to our people, and to help us find those children. And we're not the only ones. There are others that have suffered the same way that we have. And I think that we can't do it alone. I'll tell you that right now. We can't do it alone. So I really appreciate that you've come here to help us, to try to understand us. And I think as you go along, you will understand us more. And we will put together the powers that we all have to make things right. Because that's what we want. We want to bring it out in the open. Everybody should know what happened. And then let's make it right. Let's find a way to do that.
So my colleagues, Mark Ebert and Shelby Percival are right behind me, and along with Paul Marcil, we have the honor of representing the special interlocutor into missing children, Kimberly Murray. A lawyer understandably thinks they're special because they wear these clothes, right? And I was no exception as I grew up in the bar and got, I mean the bar, you know, the one with, not the bar, the other bar. And as I became a lawyer, I thought how important it was to carry these gowns and to carry that responsibility in a courtroom. But you know what Cantaneda and Guitillo have taught me is there's a lot more wisdom than lawyers in a courtroom. There's the vindication of right. And there's a belief in your mission to protect children. And you can't replace that with gowns. The limit of our colonial court is that we're a technical exercise that often loses its way in the search for the truth. I watched Cantaneda present the wampum belt to the court as part of the ceremony, and I was truly impressed that the judges didn't just forbear it. They didn't just sit there. They actually appreciated the effort of the mothers to bring ceremony into their court. And that means we've come a long way. We've come a long way, and there's nothing wrong with praising judges when they do good. And so there is hope. You can't win every case, but what you're seeing, and look at the community around, what you're seeing is increasingly people are aware of the battle. And it's not true that they're making things up. I want you to know, as a lawyer, as a member of the profession, and as someone who actually believes that you have to tell the truth, we keep getting reports by historic human remains dog detection telling us there's remains being identified. That isn't advocacy. I'm not making it up. And these remains are unexplained. And McGill won't crack open the buildings to figure out where the odors are coming from. They keep the machinery of progress rolling along in the hopes the mothers will go away. Well, you all are the insurance that the mothers don't go away. Your support and the community that's behind this case will make all of the difference. So keep on fighting, and it's an honor to play the role that we play. Thank you very much. My name is Julian Falconer, and forgive me, I'm a lawyer.
You said
I represent the special interlocutor in respect of missing children in unmarked graves.
Yeah, you should say that.
Yes.
We might try to extend Kimberly's term.
The mandate of the special interlocutor has now been extended to the end of the year. And her role across the country is to attempt to give support and coordinate all the different issues that have arisen around searches for missing children and unmarked graves. You see, everywhere you go, the first thing you hear from the non-Indigenous side is there's nothing here, right? And that's actually, it's understandable because no one can conceive of the atrocity of hiding the remains of children this way. No one can live with it, and no one can conceive that it happened in their territory, but it's happened all over the country. And so part of the exercise is meeting the denialism. And that's what this kind of proceeding is about.
Yes.
Any other questions?
What is the current situation at the site? Are there cultural monuments down there just now, or is it just being excavated without being built?
Well, this is perfect. This is where Philippe Blouin speaks up. Go ahead, Philippe.
Hi, I'm Philippe Blouin. I'm an anthropologist and I work with the Mohawk Mothers. Currently on the site there is ongoing construction. Cultural monitors are still allowed, so there is some degree of monitoring from the part of the Mohawk Mothers, but it is all done without the supervision of the panel, which was jointly appointed as part of the settlement agreement. And so since this appeal started, there's been, as what Dio said, 2 other teams.
Yeah.
So since this, since the appeal started, there's been 2 other findings by separate teams of historic human remains detection dogs, and in one of those zones, there's been also a S4 probe that was used that confirmed the findings of the dogs to the effect that there's signatures that are characteristic of human decomposition in the soil. And so these new targets, which in addition to the one that was found last year, make 3 targets. These Mohawk Mothers, there's a big concern that if the panel is not brought back to oversee how these remains will be investigated, it might result in improper treatment, in improper investigation, as happened with the first target that the dogs found, where the soil was excavated, was left in piles for months, and then sifted with a mechanical excavator, and so it's been improper treatment. And so this is the big concern with the current appeal, is for these targets to be identified properly in a way that respects Indigenous protocol, that respects the dignity of these people that passed and their relatives today.
I want to keep Philippe here, but I wanted to emphasize something about what this appeal is about. For those who don't know, even though on April 6th, 2023, a little over a year ago, McGill and the Quebec government came to an agreement with the Mohawk Mothers in a settlement, a signed agreement, that a panel of jointly chosen experts would guide the development and would provide binding recommendations on how to respect Indigenous cultural concerns and how to put the children first. Even though it was all agreed, within a period of months, after McGill didn't like what they heard from the experts, McGill fired them. 2 of the 3 experts thought they were to continue, but they were notified by McGill unilaterally that their contracts were at an end. Now, there's nothing okay about this. It's a trick. McGill never had the power to end the panel unilaterally. And Justice Moore of the lower court so found. In other words, he agreed that McGill exceeded their powers and breached the agreement, as did SQI. Now here's the important part. Instead of McGill simply working with the Mohawk Mothers, right, when they received that decision last November, what did they do? Well, they saddled Indigenous people with more litigation in the higher courts. They took the money McGill is supposed to use to teach people, and they pumped it into going to court to defeat the Mohawk Mothers after they lost in the lower court.
Same for Quebec government.
So what does that tell you about the learning institution that I proudly have a degree from? As does my 2 sisters and my dad. He'd rest in peace. What I'm telling you is McGill's lost its way. McGill is a public institution. You should regain it. You should insist on them telling the truth. about the litigation nonsense they're putting the Mohawk mothers through. But I do want you to know what this case is about them trying to rig a result by firing the panel that they said they would be bound by. It's shameful. Thank you.
What about the secret contracts?
What are the two other locations? Are they close to the first one?
It's on the Royal Victoria Hospital site. One is next, it's close to the Allen Memorial Institute, where these infamous psychiatric experiments took place.
And it's important to understand that when McGill tells you they're using experts right now, they're using hand-picked experts that the Indigenous people did not agree to. So they've substituted the panel that we did agree to, who were actually independent, for their own contractors. So please understand that they rigged it. So it's not a trustworthy process. And it's essential that we get back to where we were before, which was attempting to have what was a collaboration and a conciliatory effort.
What company has the dogs that made these two alerts? Are they like hired by?
So the company that reported in terms of the historic human remains dog detection is Valley.
Yeah, Ottawa Valley. They're based in Ottawa Valley Search and Rescue Association.
So
They're
they're an
certified
objective.
internationally.
They're an objective body. So they find results. The dogs identify target scents that could be human remains, but then instead of referring it to the independent panel for what to do next, McGill keeps sending it to their own contractors, and completely have violated the intention of an independent panel.
Can somebody from the Mohawk Mothers react to what McGill and SQI said to them? Like if you had to sum up.
So I was pretty, it was pretty stabbing to hear some of the remarks made by Quebec, where they were saying that they're not bound by that honor, that they're not being honorable, that they don't have to be honorable. When in the very beginning, and they questioned our questioning of the honor of the Crown. And from the very beginning when we sought the injunction, it was clarified in Justice Moore's, what he stated, that it is to be Indigenous-led and in the spirit of reconciliation. Indigenous-led. And that means that we are to be privy to everything that goes on. Yes, McGill and SQI are going to pay for service providers and they can find them. But when the contract was set out and set up, we were not included. So what happened there is they gave who they hired to do the techniques. When they hired them, they also gave them a gag order saying that they can't share it with anybody else but McGill and SQI. So what happened was we were left out of the loop, but the panel was supposed to take the data and then go forward and say, well, these are the recommendations of what has to happen next. And that's where they, at that time when Justice Moore put that out, no one denied it, no one appealed that it was to be Indigenous-led in the spirit of reconciliation. And that's exactly what's happening. And by them not going by the spirit of reconciliation in the manner that they're conducting themselves now, that's where they are not they are not following the honor of the Crown, when that's exactly what they projected and said must be followed.
And we're the first.
Right. And in the very, very beginning of this whole process, when we first went into that first day, that is what I said. I said, I hope that this is to be something that brings our relationships together. It creates a new relationship because there's a non-existent relationship. And what was said in there was pretty disturbing when they said that they wanted to, that we are not, we aren't the ones that should be sought, and we should be a group or a representation. When in all actuality, each Gotnistansara that is represented here, we all represent ourselves. We just work together. But each person in the Ganyagahaga people is each sovereign in their own body and in their own right. And they're born with it. They're not given it. They are born with it. And therefore, that we are allowed to conduct ourselves the way we are in the protocols of Gayanardet Goa, our original ways. But the lawyer for Quebec wanted to say that no, we have to be grouped into and told what to do by the communication between them and per se a band council, which does not represent me. A band council is only an administrator of funds. They are not a political, nor are they a constitutional body. And that's the mistake that Quebec seems to sit on. And as of being a lawyer, he should know this, that if he read the Indian Act and everything that pertains onto us, the Indian Act creates the band council, and the band council is there to get rid of the Indian problems. And therefore, the band councils work for the Canadian government, and why would they go and have communication with a band council to tell people with inherent rights what to do? Nothing of what the argument that he made makes any sense whatsoever. So in the end, we continue to fight the way we know how to fight. We're gonna fight to create a peace. Really, we're fighting a system. We don't want to fight people. And what was evident in that court today was that everything that was said by the appellants, the opposition and their lawyers had zero energy in it. And everything that came from Gotnistansara and Metra Falconer had remains of people and the ancestors of those people at heart. Anything else?
Well, I think you should start studying some of these laws that exist in Canada that are still there, still on the books, and you still vote for, and that are there to wipe us out, to clear Canada of our people. And one of them is called the Indian Act, and we have others, but the Indian Lands Act of 1924. By the way, it was called the 100-year business plan by the people back then. October the 25th, 1924, and it will be 100 years this October. And I think maybe we should mark it on our calendar that we've got to do something about this, because it is your law and it's there, and nobody will ever get charged with anything. Nobody will ever be punished, and all of these murders that happen to us, nobody, not one person has stood for any of that. And we're talking about a lot of people. You know, when you start thinking about how many of our people have been wiped out throughout the Western Hemisphere, and nobody's ever stood in court or anywhere for any of this. And they've even admitted they've done it. Even the Prime Minister here admitted that this is what happened, that there was genocide. It wasn't just cultural genocide. It was actual genocide to completely wipe us out. So now here we are, we're standing here, we're still fighting those laws that are still there, and they still use them. And so I think you people should know what you're voting for and what backs your society, and why your society is so strong. It's because you've got these laws, and then you've got the army behind you. And believe me, we know something about the army. We've had to contend with them. Not long ago, and we constantly have to contend with the mistreatment of our people. And we still are losing our people. We're still losing our children. We're still losing our young people. They're getting murdered. Women are being found in garbage dumps, and so on. This is still going on, and nobody knows about it. Nobody. It's being kept quiet. I think it's time for you to open up those or to help find those documents. They're all on documents somewhere. They're all in the universities and the archives, wherever. Everybody needs to find those for everybody, because we have to bring them out and we have to prove it. I really appreciate that, at least.
About the 2 new findings, how did you react when they told you that they had 2 new findings?
Well, this is heavy. This is real. And we're dealing with it all the time. And in all actuality, I just got back from a little break because it's very, very, there's a lot of pressure on you to be conducting yourself in the right manner and to be honoring people in the proper way. And every time there is a new discovery, it's very, very heavy on all of us. And because we don't know who it is, and we don't know if we're going to be allowed to continue on to investigate who it is. You know, there's so many technicalities in what we're doing and what just went on inside of there. And there's so many things that we have to try to understand and follow as we navigate through all this process. And I mean, there's there's individual how you're reacting, and you're reacting to pretty much corporations and corporate law and all of this type of like gibberish, right? And so I don't know, we're just trying our best to navigate through this, and that's what's at stake. Every minute we're wondering if we're not going to be allowed to get to the bottom of it through all of these technicalities. And I mean, SQI and McGill are trying to say, like, I don't know how to put this, but in there they were asked, well, if we're not doing the proper thing, well, what would you say would be the proper thing if the proper protocols aren't being used? And I mean, the only thing that comes through there is contempt of court. And is that the way that it wants to be? Is that really the way that it's going to go, where somebody has to who's going to take the responsibility of the one being in contempt? Who's going to go through that in this type of situation when it's not the human thing to do, you know? So when we have these findings, there's so many things that we have to jump through that the reaction just isn't emotional. It's almost, there's a panic, because then there's a whole new set of rules that we have to navigate through. So it's
we're seeing
it's stressful.
The same thing happening in another part of the world. We're seeing what that happened to us, and I am old enough to be a survivor of some of those things that were done, and so now we see that it could happen to us again, because we are raising some things that have been kept very well hidden, and I think you have to face it. You're living and you're benefiting from all of that. You have a part to play in fixing it. You have to fix it. And how are you going to fix that? I'd like to know what you're going to do. Got any ideas?
In our way,
Mike's on them.
in our ways, I can't tell you what to do. But you have to find what your strength is, what your nature is, and do it in your way, in the best way that you know how. So that's why I'm so glad that everybody is here today, that I see that their eyes are opening. And every person here, if they know 10 people, can open their eyes to what happens when, sadly, when a court that resides over everyone is there to make a decision, and they don't always have the right information. So this information is important, that everybody has this, that there are people there that are being abused. There are being people that are not listened to because they don't understand the intricacies of taking legal action. So that's really important to me. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So I guess you'll come up with some ideas for us, eh? We have no money. We have no lawyers.
We just do it.
Yeah,
That's what-
we just,
because it's our
we just do
job.
it. And we just keep on doing it. And we're not going to stop because the guy in Regoa says you got to do it right till the end. So we're empowered by that. We're never going to back down, ever.
You know when the
I think
judgment
that these
will come.
people that are here are all here to live. That's why they're here.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm so glad you're all here.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming. You don't know how wonderful.
When the judgment
So really,
I don't know when the judgment will be published. They get in touch with us and let us know what happens. But
as soon as possible.
yes. This thing can't wait anymore. This duty of mine can't wait anymore. I gotta do it every day. So we're waiting.
Thank you.
If I can just add something. Gahantineta kind of made a call to action here to settlers like me. I'm from French ancestry. And we're more and more people living on and with this land who understand our responsibility, the very responsibility you're talking about. And we have a group, a collective of plenty of people coming together to do this work that we have to do. It's not fair that all this work is on Indigenous people's shoulders. And it's not to play the white savior. And like, if you want to call me that, I don't really care because it's not for you that I do it. But also, you learn so much. I'm learning so much from doing this work with you that it's very humbling. It's no savior complex here. It's so I've never learned as much as I've learned since I'm working with you. And there you go. So Take Back Deganuntak, yes, is our collective on Instagram. Deganuntak is the Ganangaha name for the mountain that was colonized as Montreal. So it's not easy to make the writing. I can show it to the cameras if ever. Just like come with us, join the work, because honestly, we're not enough. We need more minds and more arms, and we need more people to be doing this work. It's all our responsibilities, because as Gahintineta says, we're privileged. I'm privileged, and I'm not the only one by this system. And it's not fair that I don't use those privileges for justice and for life. So there you go.